online. Thanks for logging in. I'm Shen. I started all this craziness many years ago, where my part is going to be very boring to make our celebrity speaker even more exciting. He's getting his mic set up. But anyway, all jokes aside, I want to first introduce our main speaker today before the founders, four founders of the companies that were here to celebrate, right? And Bill Bilford, in the food world, Bill doesn't need introduction, right? But I'll still do it just for the enjoyment. You all know him. You all know all his work. So he founded probably certainly one of the most successful literary magazine and his book publishing. It's called Granta in England. But since the mid-90s, I think, he moved here and started work for a little magazine called New Yorker. And he's a fiction editor and staff writer, writing about food culture, especially his famous work in French and Italian culinary history, culinary traditions. And that's an anthropologist, a journalist. And he has two bestsellers. You probably all know, right? Of course, and I read them. Heat, which is like a Bible, right? It's like, I think Anthony Bourdain and Bill probably shaped the current generation of chefs. Wouldn't some of you say that? I mean, and the more recent work is Dirt, which is based on his 5 years of living in Lyon, France. And I think learned fluent French, among other accomplishments. And he's also a broadcaster, mostly in England, where he founded Granta and had this BBC series called, what's the funny name? A Fat Man in a White Hat, and directed and filmed by his two sons. And so I met with Bill, and this particular event, we planned for what, 7-8 years. It was when I first met Bill and his very accomplished sommelier wife. It was at the year was 2014, right? So now looking back, that's probably arguably the inaugural year of the latest trend of wave of food innovation, right? And it's kind of started in many ways in Brooklyn and Manhattan in New York, and that now become a global movement, right? And with increasing and lasting energy, that movement is combating policy, climate, health, systemic issues. Right? It's not just a fad or a fashion trend. It's a movement to make the world a better place. Right? And at that dinner, which is this small, cute, elegant dining room of Dorothy Hamilton overlooking Lincoln Center. That's just uptown from here. And there's another couple who you all know. That's chef and farmer Dan Barber and his wife. So now looking back at, like the work, people like Dan and Bill and Dorothy, who's the founder, the late Dorothy Hamilton, founder of French Culinary Institute, the work they have done for decades, it's really started the movement, the shift of cultural behavioral shift that's been happening. That's the kind of the cultural foundation that shaped, sometimes called the the generation of Yum, right? People who, the millennials and Gen Z who really care about food, right? And it is standing on their broad shoulders. I was fortunate enough to found two accelerators, FoodX in 2014 that year, and not long after FoodFutureCo, with a investment platform, an impact investment platform of FoodFutureCo today. So, and we're here to celebrate the 9th graduation of our 9th batch of our program. And we're fortunate also to have a couple of founders from Cohort 2 and Cohort 5. You're here. I'm so glad to see you here. But it's really not about me, certainly not about me, but it's really a celebration of our change makers that you'll hear from today. And looking at, knowing the audience online and looking at this room, And my co-investors, many of you are here, been supporting from some for just a few months, others for 6-7 years. Right? I think the food movement is alive and well. I mean, just look at the solutions you're going to hear today. Is tackling the issues of nutrition, of taste, of access, affordability, and promoting personal and communal responsibilities. So we're talking about instead of heavy processing, the appreciation of taste, of cooking, that kind of a touching of food is so very fitting that we see a home garden here, right, in Project Farmhouse. Well, without further ado, I give you Bill Bilford.
Thank you very much. I have a very scatty brain, so I have notes just to remind me where I'm to return after I go wandering. I am sure that everybody here grew up on farms and has a pure taste of food and knows their cheeses because you've made them and can milk a cow. I'm sure you slaughtered pigs. You know the taste of grass and fresh herbs that you pick from your massive back garden. Or maybe you're like me and you grew up eating awful food. And maybe you're not like me and didn't have the fortune of moving to England when English food, Jella Lawson at that moment was writing Nothing, was really, really, really bad. I can remember the day I got a Marshall Scholarship. I got an academic scholarship to go to England. I was a Shakespearean. That was my trajectory. And on our first day, we're in this big old hotel, and these lovely women, they're kind of grandmas with their hairs in a bun. And they were serving, there was kind of a lamb thing, but it was hard to know what it was. And it was covered with this mint jelly because everything had mint jelly then. And they were so proud of their vegetables, which they would heap on the plate. I mean, some more, heap some more. I've tried to, I've imagined, I mean, it's like an anteater that suddenly just like regurgitated its meat. It was just awful, awful, awful stuff. But in the course of time there, English cooking was kind of starting to get better, and largely in homes and where people were good cooks. And I got excited about food and longed one day to work in a restaurant so I could have I wanted a chef's knowledge of being able to go to a market and thinking, yes, I can do this, I can do this, I can do that, I can do this, I can do this, I can do that, I can do this. Instead of thinking, I'll have to take this home and then read a recipe about it and figure out how to do it. So I come into food very accidentally. I'm sure I'm the only one here who has done that. And I thought a good way of describing my accidents might be a way of three people. And like the first times I met them. One is the Italian butcher, Dario Cecchini, whom I had the great privilege to work with and whom I met before I even asked to work for him quite a few years ago, 20 years ago, 21 years ago. And my then not yet wife and I wandered into his butcher shop, and there were three people. And he was standing on the counter, three women, and he was reciting Dante's Inferno at full blast. And it was half closed. I mean, it was open closed. And, there was no business. It was just reciting. And this went on for a long time. And when finally he stopped, I asked for a bistecca because this is his famous meat. And he said, "Oh, no. You can't have a bistecca. You have to order it in advance. And you can't, no, absolutely not." And so we were rejected and carried on our way. The next person is a guy who goes by the name of Bob, who was, and this is in Lyon in France. And Bob is a baker. His name is not Bob. His name is Yves, but he goes by Bob. Who knows why, but he goes by Bob. And a Sunday at Bob's in Lyon, this tiny little boulangerie, and the line, you've just never seen anything like this. Every Sunday, there's a line that goes, like it's from this door all the way to that door, and then sometimes it goes beyond that. And they're all trying to get into the place, and they want to get their hot bread. And Bob is playing salsa music, and it's really loud, and money is changing hands because it's all cash, and it's getting crowded, and the door is always, it's got a bell on it, it's going bing, 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 bing the whole time until finally you get there and you get your bread and you get more than you want to, because by then you're really, really hungry, and you kind of come tottering out and just smelling this fantastic, just hot, just baked, delicious bread, and can't wait till you get home so you start eating it right there. And the third thing was an editorial meeting at the New Yorker, where I was lucky enough to be I was the fiction editor, and you would have these meetings every now and then when you'd come and you propose an idea. And my idea was, well, I had just made the mistake of inviting Mario Batali over for dinner, and it was a disaster, just catastrophic. Number of lessons in it, which is like, if you have people over for dinner, don't make that the time you make the dish for the first time. Well, I made 3 dishes for the first time, and Mario ended up cooking all of them. And then, being Mario, and left at 5 in the morning, and bringing lots of guests with him. And I went to this editorial meeting and said, this guy's crazy. He's wacko, and somebody should write a profile of him. And I thought of Jay McInerney. It was actually Jay McInerney's birthday that I was hosting. The writer, fiction writer. And Remnick, the editor, took me aside and said, actually, maybe you should do it. And I thought, well, I don't know if I want to do it, but I think the only reason he thought of that is because, unlike Britain, New Yorkers don't cook many meals at home for very good reasons, often because their kitchens are too small and the dining rooms are too small, and you've got very good restaurants, and the restaurants in England were awful. I have a feeling at that moment I was perhaps the only person he knew who invited people around for dinner. So I was kind of some kind of elevated cook in his eyes, and I thought, well, I don't want to write a profile of a celebrity chef, but I do want to get into a kitchen. And if I can do this as a way of getting into a kitchen, then it like satisfies this wish I had for years. And that was how that was the whole reason I did the piece in the first place. And then the piece did well. And then I went back and started a book, and the book then led me to Dario. And I started to learn the excitement of, it's an excitement, I'm jumping ahead, but that's fine. It's an excitement I felt when I went to, in the end, I ended up having to go to cooking school in Lyon. And I went to the Institut Paul Bocuse, and there was one fish course I took, which was famously brutal. And it started at 8 and it finished at 7, but that was day 1. The next day it started at 7, and then it finished at 8. The next day it started at 6, and then it finished at 9. And the object was to learn in 1 week all the fish of the sea and shellfish, and all the French ways to make them. I mean, it's a massively brutal, encyclopedic, but really exciting thing. I thought it costs more money than most because you get all this fish, but I thought, I know people in New York who pay thousands of dollars to come and have, like, in 1 week, learn everything about fish. But maybe not. But that's what I wanted. And that got me excited. And I have written other things. I do have a book about New York that's coming together from when I first came here, and the place seemed like a Martian. It seemed like Mars, and I was maybe the Martian. Or maybe it seemed like Mars, and I was not the Martian. And I did write a book about soccer hooligans when I was living in England. But food has become my preoccupation and sort of my obsession. I have 2 illustrations of, well, by way of this, and I'm going to just make sure I'm monitoring my time. jumping ahead in some ways, but I think what I ended up learning from food is, well, one, a premise, which is that food is important and as essential to us as water, air, sleep. I mean, it's fundamental. No food, you die. No water, you die. No air, you die. But unlike all the other things we need to live, food, as we eat it as human beings, is mainly made. It's cooked. And we all need food, but you have to really learn how to get it or make it. And this makes it already a complex thing. This actually makes it culture. It becomes an expression of our humanness. And in that is a kind of why food became so exciting for me, because in food I would find, sure, you'd find taste. You'd find the intensity of a local ingredient, which is an amazing thing. I was just thinking about it now because I was eating these really, I don't know how to say it, sucky, damp, mushy cherries from Union Square Market. And I've been ruined for cherries because there are cherries you get in the Rhone Valley, which are like the most magnificent cherries you've ever had in your life. And once I had them, there was nothing. I started buying them by the crate. There was everything I wanted to do with cherries. I made cherry sauce for duck. I made cherry jam. I made a cherry jus that I then brought back. I concentrated it and brought them back in these frozen little bottles. I still have one in my freezer. It's diluted now by sort of the sucky cherries, but it's still, they're still basically there. I went off on a digression. Come back. But also food is, it's grandmothers, it's history, it's the environment, it's politics, it becomes, in some way, if you really address all that food can be, it can become everything that's going on. Politics, labor, the seasons, climate warming, and it's all there. And to really get into your food and to understand your food is to somehow, for me, engage with being a member of the earth in ways that were just enriching and startling and always surprising for me. I wanted to offer two illustrations of like two food fanatics and what they did with them. And one is, one's probably Bob. Bob, best bread any of us has ever eaten. And he took me on when no one, we changed our lives. We moved to Lyon where I was going to learn to be a French trained chef. And partly we moved to Lyon because one of the things I learned at the butcher shop is that the Italians invented French cooking. And the French didn't know this yet, but the Italians believe it very, very firmly. And so I thought, well, I'm just going to, and they think, Lyon was probably the place where it kind of was the portal that came through. So I thought, well, I'm going to follow the track of Caterina de Medici and I'm going to learn what she taught them. And that didn't get a warm reception in Lyon. But I do believe categorically that it's true. And even more so now than ever. But we went there. We had three-year-old twin toddlers. We had an apartment in New York. We had jobs. We had a living, and we just moved to Lyon. We did it properly. We had visas. We had a lease. We had a bank account. I had some introductions, and then I couldn't get a kitchen to take me. I just one place. It was in trouble. One place, the chef got sick. And after that, they just thought, Italian cooking. No, I don't think so. And it was getting a little desperate. And, this was a big project. We'd moved to this place and I was going to write a book, obviously. And then I know what I'll do. I'll rush down and I'll say, I'll work for Bob. And I ran down the staircase and knocked on the door. He was just closing up. I said, Bob! Because he knew, because we were visiting and he was right across the street from us. So said, Bob, I'm going to work for you. And, that's what I'm going to do for my book. And he said, nah. What do you mean? Nah. No, he knew that, I've been rejected there, and he said, nah. He knew I was the kind of the last chance after the last chance of the last chance. And then I said, but Bob, but then I was pretty desperate. Everyone recognizes you make the best bread in Lyon. You might make the best bread in France. And I want to find out why. And I hit a nerve, which I'm taking me longer and longer to understand, which is basically Bob, for various reasons, was deeply insecure. And in a city of fanatical gastronomic extremists, he was just a guy who made bread. But he knew that his bread was different. He knew no one knew how or why his bread was different. And he kind of embraced that idea. He got used to it. He said, okay, you come, you work here. And like the first thing he said was, you live right across the street, don't you? I said, yeah. And he said, well, if you ever can't sleep, 3 a.m, something like that, just pop over. Man, if it's 3 a.m, if I can't sleep, I don't go out for walks. But I could see what he was doing. He was extending friendship. And in the end, he introduced me to Lyon. He introduced me to his bakery. He told me his secret. Took a while to get there, but it wasn't actually such a thing. His secret is it's all in the flour, all of it in the flour. He introduced me to societies. He introduced me to other restaurateurs. He made us home in Lyon. And then I did this thing. I quit to go to the Institut Paul Bocuse to learn my French cooking. And he was so shocked that I would quit. I said, no, Bob, but I'll be back. I've got to do this. Because this is one of the things this is a check. And I said, yeah. And they said, oh, and I'll come back soon. And I did try to come back. I just tried to work on the weekends, but it was impossible. It was just too exhausting. But then he got all excited by the fact that I was going to go to Bocuse and make him a grand meal. And he got very, very good. He kind of did a little song about, you're going to make me a grand meal. You're going to make me a grand meal. You're going to make me a grand meal. And really what he was announcing that he's my friend. And there's a Lyonnais thing, which took me 2 years to understand, which is that in Lyon, you're not someone's friend until they invite you into their home and you make them food. The city is gastronomic extremism, and this is just the deal. When you're invited into your home, you share your wares, you make food, you give them your good wine, you form a bond that lasts a very, very long time. And we have Lyonnais friends now who, if we go to Europe and we don't go to Lyon and we don't go to their house for dinner, then they're like, well, yeah, what? You're not our friends anymore? And that's really what Bob was asking. And anyways, so there's Bob. And then there's Dario. I'm going to be quick. Oh, I've got at least 3 or 4 more minutes. Yeah, all right, I can go see it. So the thing about Dario is, actually the thing about being a journalist, all right, I'm a journalist it's not like I'm doing a stage. I am doing a stage, I'm doing these places, I'm doing my work, but I'm also a journalist. So I take the liberty to ask my employer any question I want to ask. And they answer it because they know that I'm writing about them. And it's the kind of creepy thing about a journalist is that if you talk to your subject, Janet Malcolm wrote about this. So basically said, whatever you do, don't trust a journalist. If you spend hours with someone and like you're really interested in them and like what they, how they think and sort of what their values are and why they did that and why they did this. And then the next day you come and ask them some more questions. The next day you ask them more questions. And I've been thinking that, and I'd love to ask more questions. You get this relationship, which is, you get kind of privy to someone's soul. And it's, sorry, I didn't mean to do that to you. And so I just wanted to read this one thing because it's kind of at the heart of it. I forgot I was looking at this again. So I was talking to Dario, and I said, Dario, what happens to your butcher shop if you die? Which is a little blunt, I admit. But I'm saying, like, what's the business if you're not there? Is it a business if you're not there? And is that really a business? I mean, yes, it's a business, but if you don't show up and we don't get to see Dario, then is that really going to work? And he exploded. And I forgot how much he exploded. I just looked at this and said, what are you talking about? I don't have a good business. I have a bad business. He uses business, the American, in English. I'm not interested in good business. I do not want to be Mario Batali. He said, punching the B in Batali like an airbag. I'm repelled by marketing. I am artisan. I work with my hands. My model is the Renaissance, the Bodega, the artist workshop, Giotto, Raphael, Michelangelo. These are my inspirations. Do you think they were interested in business? So, here's two guys, both artists in their ways, both really deep souls. Bob is like, I don't know anyone who feels like he's like it's his flock. He makes bread for his flock. But it was my wife who observed this, is Dario was actually really upset by this exchange. And she thinks, I wouldn't say this, but she thinks, and she's quite confident about it, that he started changing his operation. He changed an operation so that it could run without his being there. And I emailed Kim, his wife, last night. I said, so what's Dario now? And she kind of understated it, but she said, well, there's the butcher shop. Well, the butcher shop now is full to capacity. And then there's a proper butcher shop, which is down the road, which is even bigger. And then there's another one, which is now doing shipping. And he's also bought another butcher shop just outside of Florence. 2 restaurants, and 2 restaurants, and a food truck, and employing about 55 people. And then there's a restaurant now in the Bahamas and one in Dubai, maybe 200 people altogether. And then there's a new one, in Macello in Bulgaria, which is a really exciting one. It's in a partnership with another chef, which has about 12 employees. And then there's other, this and there's this and this. Business. Dario's close friend said, what's he doing? Is he Prada or something like that? Bob didn't quite, I was having trouble making it to a business, but I should say, just a digression, because I did this film, which we were talking about that for various reasons got lost, but I'm remembering that it was 2 parts. It was an hour for the BBC. 1 hour was doing fancy food, 1 hour was doing, killing pigs and making bread. But the second part, Bob knew that he was in it, and he rented out what's called the English pub in Lyon, which is where I'll watch all the sporting events. And he invited everyone there, and he put it up because you put it on the big screens, and everybody can watch the show as it's being transmitted live, or as it's being transmitted. And I said, Bob, you want to see it first, because you say a lot of bad words and you burn stuff, and maybe you want to see it before. No, I trust you. I don't know if I would trust me. I don't know what. But in the event, it was pretty embarrassing, but it was also good, and it got him. And and he was so enlarged. It was like someone finally gets him. And there was a moment where a baguette is cracked, and it's cracked in my ear, and it just reverberates. Of course, that's just the acoustics of the editors, but it's still like that's what good bread should be, is that crack. I am going to wrap this up, but I'm going to wrap it up by noting that Bob did take us out. I took Bob out to dinner. We didn't have him over for dinner. He told us his whole family story. He told us about his brother Philippe, who's the great, great baker, who's the one who taught him how to bake. About his father, who was a baker, and taught the whole family how to bake. About his mother, about the fact that his father wouldn't speak to his mother. And it just went on and his Cuban wife, and how he went to Cuba, and I was a socialist, and he's still waiting for the revolution. And then we dropped him off, and he pretended to go back to the boulangerie, but in fact, he went to our local bar. And then the next week, his father died. And then the next week, his brother Philippe had an aneurysm, and he died. And then Bob, mourning, just wailing one night, some kid threw a rock through his window of his boulangerie, and he went chasing after the kid, and then tripped and broke his leg, and then couldn't be a baker for 6 weeks. And finally he was coming back, and we're all happy when he had an aneurysm and died. That's a sort of a sorry, dark tale to end this on. But it's just, for me, there are two stories of I think something that all of us face, which is how to make a business out of a precious thing, which is food, and how not to ruin it as food was ruined but for most of us growing up. And it's tricky, but you want to make it into a business. You don't want to be the only guy who's there. And that for me was just these two lovely, deeply meaningful people. Kind of brought the home the delicacy of what we're doing.
Bill first. No, it's great. It's great. Yeah. Bill, yeah. So see, now I know what you did in those years, because when we first met, I thought, this guy is just as interesting, if not more, than Mario Batali and all these other crazy chefs. And I said, we're going to do something together. And then he wants to write a book. I thought maybe a year, but now this finally happened.
Yeah.
So the one thing I love about when Bill talk about this, or many of other cherished chefs and visionaries like Dan Barber and the last speaker at the last graduation, Michel Nichang, is just the color and the details and the passion they have about food, and they all, in their different ways, actually encourage this cultural phenomenon. This is uneasy but wonderful convergence with business. And thank you for ending on that note.
Thank you. Thank you. Pleasure.
And it's only fitting. Please. Yeah, it's only fitting to start our. Yeah, with all the wonderful, colorful details. I'm going to introduce our cohort now, and you'll see the alignment here. The first speaker. Well, I do want to mention, and Bill only touched upon this. Many of our previous speakers emphasize this. So it's like, you probably noticed it's actually come to me. I've been an eater not long after I was born, right? So I've been very experienced eater, but more than that, much more than that, it's that you change food, you change everything. All those connections, and especially when you become scalable with efficiency without losing the delicacy of the nutritional density, the connection to soil, to culture. It's really central to not just a pleasurable, enjoyable experience, individual as family, but it's central to the world we and our children are going to live in. So our first founder speaker is a co-founder and CEO of Click Chefs, and it's a marketplace that does, listen to this, connect families with their local favorite chefs. Dan will tell you all about it. Dan, please.
Thank you, Shen. I'm Dan Popovic. Click Chefs is a food technology platform. We are designed to help independent chefs and independent restaurants scale their online presence. Now, I'm curious, just a question for y'all. Is there anybody, I'm going to take the assumption everybody in here has ordered dinner online and had it delivered. Is that correct? Is there anybody in there that has not done that? Okay. So good. So this will be pretty relevant as far as an experience perspective goes. And I'm going to kind of share with you the chef's experience, the consumer's experience. I talk with a lot of chefs on a weekly basis. There's two consistent problems that they encounter. One is marketing, how to tell their story, how to connect with the consumer, how not to get lost or look like another, catalog entry in a catalog. The second one is, how do I get above and beyond that 5-mile delivery radius limitation? That's pretty significant in letting these independent chefs and restaurants scale their operation. Well, that's where we come into play. Our solution focuses on the chef, tells the chef story, connects them with the consumers, and better yet, we have the ability to get their items delivered as far away as 30 to 35 miles away from their kitchen, and even being able to collaborate into other cities. So significant scale opportunity for these independent chefs and these independent restaurants. So sounds great. How does this solution work? Well, it's a turnkey e-commerce platform. Everybody's got the experience with that. In this audience, chefs place their items online, you go purchase it. Here's where it gets really cool and fascinating with some of the work that we're doing is we acquire consumers on behalf of these chefs. We connect them with the consumers. We're sending out weekly emails, sending out newsletters, postcards, what have you not, really engaging with the consumer and connecting them. We go further than that. We have analytics. We help these chefs optimize their weekly menus so they're rotating and doing something different every week. And we help with loyalty and retention strategies. Now, from a delivery perspective, from a consumer's perspective, this is where it gets really neat. So our model is based upon planned production, planned delivery, driver assignment. And what that means is you place an order now, you get it Saturday. You don't get it in 15 minutes. It comes refrigerated, comes in eco-friendly containers. Shelf life is 5 to 7 days. So very high-end, healthy items. This is a great example of one of our customers. This customer was 15 miles away from the kitchen. They ordered from 3 different chefs. They got 1 delivery. Now, you'll notice there was no delivery fee with this either. You try one of these other platforms, obviously you're not going to get that, but you're going to probably spend $50 to $100 more just for that. So our go-to-market strategy, how we work is we partner with shared kitchens across the U.S. One of the reasons we partner with these shared kitchens is that's where a lot of your independent chefs operate out of. From there, we then partner with the independent restaurants local to that community. But the key is that shared kitchen is a great aggregation and delivery point for us that allows us to scale that operation. We make money a couple of ways. With the chefs, we provide eco-friendly containers. This is a big difference is it's subscription fee. So the subscription fee works in a way that it's based upon the number of entrees that they place on a monthly basis. So we're not charging them 20 to 30% every single time or every time there's an order or each transaction. The consumers, delivery fees, transaction fees, y'all are used to that. I mean, that's typical. Our value proposition is pretty significant for the chefs. It's kitchen efficiencies, it's known demand versus unknown demand. But more importantly, we save them on average 26% every time, every transaction, every order that comes in. Now, flip that over to the consumer. We're saving them money as well, but what's cool here is the convenience and the fact that you can order from 3, 4, 5 of your favorite local chefs, and you're getting 1 delivery, healthy items, you're stocking your fridge up for the whole week. We're currently in Atlanta, which I failed to mention earlier. We're based in Atlanta. We just recently launched in Greenville. We are expanding into Austin, Charlotte, and Orlando. Now, Prep Atlanta is a significant partner of ours down in Atlanta. They have a 250,000 square foot kitchen with about 300 restaurants. We're just scratching the surface with them. They're the ones taking us to Austin, Texas. They just opened up a kitchen in the Austin market. Morgan Properties, we're getting a little innovative and creative with our marketing. Morgan Properties is a apartment management company. They're the second largest one in the US. We're partnering with them to tap into their residences and do some key, unique things specific for their residents. Our customers love us. Well, they love our chefs that we have on there. They love the experience, but they really love the chefs. On average, they're ordering from 2 to 3 different chefs, 7 to 8 different items, and they're spending about $100 to $120 per order, week in and week out. Look, we recognize this is a competitive landscape, right? It is a very competitive landscape. Most of your competition is focused on what we call that unplanned, impersonal style of delivery. You know, you order it, you don't really know anything about the chef or that restaurant that you're getting it from. We're focused on that planned production, which helps these chefs with their kitchen efficiencies, food costs, but more importantly, personalization, personalizing the experience for you as the consumer, personalizing the experience for the chef, creating that connection. 70% of consumers surveyed, and a lot of market studies out there talk about how much folks are looking for that personalization and how much more it drives revenue, growth, retention, and loyalty. My background is product innovation. Enjoy building marketplaces, SaaS-based technology. Caleb, my head of technology, is a phenomenal developer in supporting our roadmap. Cyclone, who is present with me today, is our lead investor, passionate about this space, also previously launched a prepared meal delivery service in Atlanta. We're looking to raise $1 million. That $1 million will be spent on sales and marketing, both obviously B2B and B2C. Technology, we have an aggressive technology roadmap around predictive modeling, analytics to really build out the personalization, and then obviously customer service. So that is our story. Felicia is one of our many successful chefs, independent chefs down the Atlanta market. And hopefully you guys like the story and will join us in our journey. Thank you.
Thanks, Dan. Next one, we're going to have a fruit juice company. I mean, think about, do we actually have real fruit juice? Well, not really, right? In our marketplace. I mean, if you know what's in our fruit juice, you probably, I hate to be the person room food and beverage for everybody, so I'll stop talking about it. But this one, all the way from London, it's a company based in our actually first European company in the portfolio, Farmers Grove. They have basically real fruit juice, very low in sugar content, and oh, they're ready? Almost ready. Okay, and high nutritional value, and the third one is actually affordable. And hopefully, with the success of this company, you'll be very accessible. I give you founder CEO Odie. You ready? All right.
Did you know the average can of fruit pop has about 150 calories? That's around about 10 teaspoonfuls of sugar. My name is Odie Olali, and I am CEO and co-founder of Farmers Grove. We are a drinks producer, and we're based in London. We identified two issues currently plaguing the consumer beverage market today. The first is nutrition, the second is sugar. Now, fruit juices have always been a substitute for fruits and vegetables where we should be getting our nutrition from. However, they tend to be high in sugar. Now, the average consumer today is pivoting from fruit juices, a decision based purely on high sugar levels. The industry players don't have to change, and when they do and decrease their sugar level, you often lose out on nutrition as well. This is because they've gone with a heating process or cold process with manufacturing. We have an atypical approach. Here is how we're fighting obesity. Here is how we're offering you a more nutritious option. Here is Farmers Grove. It is a next-gen beverage. It is a botanical fruit drink, which just means it's a mixture of superfruits like pineapples and watermelon, and botanicals and herbs like hibiscus and ginger. To date, there is no fruit juice brand out there that contends with this as far as low sugar and high nutrition is concerned. How have we done this? By basically sourcing most of our nutrition from botanicals and herbs. We heat up the botanical portion of the drink to unlock the nutrition. We then mix it with the fruit portion and cold press it, thereby fusing both nutritions. With regards to what we are in essence, we are a mixture of the best parts of old world brews like Agua de Jamaica, Fresca, and Sorrel, brought to life with new technologies. We're in an exciting time in history where consumer trends are being bolstered by consumer health care legislations. In the past 10 years alone, there's been an explosion of sugar levies with countries such as the UK, Italy, countries in Southeast Asia and the UAE instituting some sort of sugar levy in place. Now, we actually foresaw these legal narrative during our product development stage. And because of coronavirus, we're actually further ahead of the curve. The virus actually accelerated industry trends. And now the consumer is more aware of what they put in their bodies, especially as obesity tends to make one more susceptible to the virus. We identified our market share by global mental research based off fruit juice purchasing habits of consumers and also other sources post-COVID on the said topic. Our TAM is 44 billion. That's the worth of the processed superfruits market in the world. Our SAM is 811 million, and our SOM is $251 million. Our criteria included consumers who were focused on purchasing juices with less sugar, consumers who were focused on purchasing juices with high nutrition and functional attributes, and consumers willing to pay a premium for an option that had more nutrition. Our competitive landscape pits us against the best and the top brands in the space. We clearly have less sugar per 100 milliliters, yet we're further ahead from a nutrition perspective. We have 5, and where our competitor beats us in that, we are further ahead with our RDI or reference intake. That's the amount of nutrition one should take in order to have a normal lifestyle. From a pricing perspective, we are meat premium. Now, we actually took out a third-party randomized taste test where we had the age ranges between 10 to 40. We asked them to give us a rating of 0 to 10, 10 being the taste of actual sugar. 100% of them gave us a 7 to 10 rating out of 10. We did a soft launch prior to COVID where we worked quite successfully with 3 retailers in the London area. Post-COVID, we're looking to launch our e-commerce, of which we've partnered with 2 pro athletes, Marcus Peterson and Simon Uzakwe. We're looking to go with a micro-influencer model to grow the e-commerce structure. We're also looking to pivot to our global distributors channel as well. With regards to our sales and marketing, we identified 3 ideal consumers. We then transposed this into 3 market segments. Our commercial segment are distributors and wholesalers, where we can tap into people who live a healthy lifestyle, who like cold pressed drinks. Our lifestyle segment, we look into target vegans and also culture-oriented purchasers, and our price-oriented distributors. We're looking to target fruit juice consumers who have a certain buy in mind. With regards to our team, there are 3 of us. We all have a legal or business background, and we all have just short of a decade each of experience in financial sales, tech sales, and also business and product development. Our ask is $525,000 to launch our e-commerce, to launch the ad campaign of both athletes, and really build the foundation of our sales team to start targeting distributors. We're also looking to push out our product from a sales and marketing perspective and also from a flavor perspective for the next 18 months. We have 2 institutional investors in Europe looking to give us further funding when we hit certain revenue goals. And there you have it. Farmers Grove, harvest always tastes better. Thank you.
Thank you, Eddie. That's great. And we half of you already know our after 9 cohorts and several exits. We have achieved certain track record that's really at the tier 1, what they call tier 1 VC. It's very leading returns. So we take pride in that, not because of financial returns. This is New York City, where there's a lot more and bigger monies out there, but we do so by having this type of companies that are really in its core of strategy, not afterthought, in the core of strategy, really doing good to the world, to do things larger than oneself, right? So, but in addition, so you've seen their products are in all the stores and marketplaces. We of course take pride in that, but we're also less known about FoodFutureCo and our community and platforms that we take pride in our founder diversity. that is, I can tell you, really hard to achieve. And just so that you know the basic stats, and that we have 35 companies, including the 4 graduates today in the portfolio. 18 of them are founded and co-founded by female founders. And compared to Cohort 1, some of you remember, we have 4 male founding companies, right? So it's a lot of, it's a long journey, a lot of work, but I think the numbers shows you can, not everybody, but certainly by our example, by our co-investor, we can do very well by doing good. So I'll introduce the next speaker, who is another woman founder all the way from the Philippines. This is Molinos, and Molinos is a manufacturer of spices and herbs, and they source it. They have this passion of sourcing from trusted sources throughout Asia and beyond, right? So the saffron fields of Kashmir, and it's just amazing. The mountain regions of Japan, and founder CEO Paula will tell you all about it. Paula.
The Philippine economy now is how the US was 50 years ago. Our country is young and poor, but we are educated and hungry for opportunities, and we have a growing taste for finer things. Hi, my name is Paula. I am Filipina. I am a single mother, a daughter, a ball of nerves. I am the CEO and founder of Molinos. In 2014, I was working in Singapore, and my dad was diagnosed with cancer. He wanted to have, he decided that he wanted to have traditional healing. So it was very difficult for us to find healthy food for him because spices are difficult to find in the Philippines. We needed to eliminate unhealthy food items and processed food. Sorry. So Filipinos have very limited access to high quality spices and herbs. Unfortunately, products with questionable qualities are fairly common. That's why our FDA has warned us every now and then. And this is the reason why we're here. Molinos is modernizing and raising the standards of the Philippine spice industry in the Philippines. We are not only selling packet of spices, but we are giving Filipinos the dignity of being able to afford high quality products without breaking their budgets. With me as the CEO and founder is a team of very qualified individuals helping me take my vision to data-driven execution is my advisor and CTO and COO Casey. He's been helping with startups all over the US throughout his career as a software engineer. And our fractional CFO is Pam. She is the CEO of Deep Office and an accounting firm in the Philippines, making sure that our accounts are in order. So the total spice market in the whole world is worth 79 billion, but the Philippines is worth $1 billion. So what makes Molinos different? Of all the brands that are available locally, we address the needs for healthy, natural spices and seasonings across all income classes. And we have spices that is fit for whatever need. So we have single serve spices and spices that are in bulk bags, 25 kilos for food manufacturers. And we also have a direct line for our customers to reach us via text, email, and chat. We have 2 brands available in the market. Our Molinos brand is a range of spices and herbs from different parts of the world. In during COVID, we created our mass market brand Mama Shai, which is for everyday Filipino use. Across the board for our 2 brands, our gross margin is 52%. With economies of scale, we will be able to reduce production cost by 21% and raise output from 33,000 units a month to 500,000. So we've been bootstrapping and we've been growing organically since we founded. COVID shut us down, and we We decided to create our mass market brand as a response. Mama Shai drove revenue to $120,000 when we reopened business officially in 2021. So from a working capital of $400, we were able to raise that to $120,000. We are on track to doubling that this year. We have 4 sales channels with our retail brand, with our retail sales channel contributing 67% of the revenue. Mama Shai has the opportunity to explode, to grow explosively from 73 stores right now to 4,400. And we are going to roll out the brand to all supermarkets in the Philippines. After that, we're going to countries with similar profile as the Philippines, starting with Indonesia and Vietnam. Right now, we are trying to raise 500,000, and this will help us grow the business and put the Mama Shai brand to 150 stores all over the country. And we are offering convertible notes for that. So now you know, Molinos is modernizing and raising the standards of the spice industry in the Philippines. Mama Shai drove revenue to $120,000 in 2021, and it has an opportunity to grow explosively from 73 stores to 4,400. And we are trying to raise $500,000 first in Asia and then to the ASEAN. Thank you.
Thank you, Paula. Our next and the last speaker is addressing the issue near and dear to my heart and central to the Food Future thesis. It's one of the central pillars. We started it. We actually have founders from previous cohort that deal with this, which is about food waste. But in addition, it's also about taste. For us, taste is always comes first because that's almost a reflection, not just the culinary aspect and the ingredient aspect. That is actually how nature optimized us with nutrition, right? The color and taste actually represent nutrition. That's why it seems pleasing, all that. So all of this comes from freshness. So Peelon, the company, from decades of research by the 2 of the 3 founders in their master and PhD program, managed to have this all plant-based coating and packaging of not just multiple kinds of a variety of fruits and vegetables, but with their latest breakthrough, even on cheese and meat. You know, so you're going to hear major technological breakthroughs in this space. So I give you Dr. Ramji Mathur, and Ramji, take it away. Yeah.
Food. I mean, we have been discussing a lot from the beginning of this talk. So do you see this number? Like, this is the big number. Like, people struggle to get single meal per day. So as you all know, food waste has been a common problem, which has really a global domino effect. And given the crisis, it has increased a lot. So it has a very staggering effects on the economic losses, on environmental decay and climate change, and of course, global food crisis. So we were just thinking, like, can we come up with a solution? So we the 2 co-founders, Ravi and myself, so we had extensive experience in plant biology and food preservation research. So can we come up with a solution? So along with Andreas, who fulfilled the marketing place, and we could manage to put the solution on rolling. So our solution is Peelon. Peelon is a 100% plant-based protective coating, which is completely invisible. You can clearly see this is Peelon coated avocado. It basically delays the ripening and increases shelf life by 3x. It retains the moisture and freshness and eliminates any kind of microbial growth. So how does it work? It's quite simple. You just apply it, you dry it, and enjoy the freshness of the Peelon coating. So you can clearly see the effect on avocados, apples, and strawberries with and without coating after a particular amount of time that's stored at the room temperature. So looking more into the business side, so where do we cater exactly? So our target market in the priority order would be retail chains, producers, produce distributors, and farmers. So we perfectly fit mainly in the supply chain after the cleaning of the fresh produce and before the packaging. So we make money using production-based revenue model. Basically, we assess the produce the distributors and retail chains have, and we make a monthly contracts, and our on-site team will help with the Peelon. So as an add-on, we also help for the large-scale distributors. We help with the spray and with the conveyor belts. So looking at the market opportunity, so it's a huge market, fruits and vegetables, as you all know, and obtainable market is up to $23 billion. And as you also know, the booming trend of the organic produce door delivery service and more demand of the fresh produce, we have a huge market opportunity. So let me run you through an example of POC we did with the mango export. So Mace has bought 100 kilograms of Peelon without coating, and he experienced 25% of wastage, roughly 25% of wastage, meaning which decrease in the profits and also increase in the carbon footprint. Whereas when he used Peelon coated mangoes, he was able to reduce the wastage to 5%, meaning which increase his profit and also at the same time decrease the carbon footprint. So in return, impact and profit go hand in hand. So looking at the competitive advantage, so there are not so many competitors in our space. Apeel is one of the biggest competitor we have. It's a $2.4 billion industry, and we hold a very good competitive advantage over them. So with respect to the versatility of application, so our Peelon is a universal solution for most of the fruits and vegetables, whereas Apeel has only for specific produce. And at the same time, we were able to crack the problem of the ripening. So meaning which we were able to give them with the specific needs for 10 days or 20 days, etc., based on the client's needs. And we have a great potential to expand to other product categories, including leafy vegetables and animal proteins. And of course, we hold a very good competitive pricing. So till now we have a very great international footprint. So we have tested in the market to check the product market fit. And at the same time, we also tested it in 20 different fruits and vegetables. So our current roadmap, so the next two quarters will be focusing on getting the food certifications and partnering with the retail chains and fresh produce, and eventually spreading over to US and Latin regions, and also in EU and APAC regions eventually. So to make an impact, your investment does matters. So we are asked for 2 million as a safe note to finish off with the regulatory things, and also to get the product into the market. So thank you very much, and we invite you to join our mission to make a difference in the people, planet, and profit. Thank you.
Well done, well done. Well, thanks everyone. That was one of the most exciting cohorts, in my long career in the accelerator space, certainly in the food agriculture space. So I will wrap it up. I realize I'm the last guy between you and all this much more interesting founders, and equally important between you and your drinks. It's never a good place to be, but so I just want to take a minute thank my colleagues and staff, especially Anna and Dave here, and for those who conveniently and not conveniently, who tested positive of COVID yesterday morning. That's why I'm the MC. You would have a much younger and better looking MC than me. So you guys can rest assured. I know you're all online, working hard with online audience, and nobody died here. So we're all good. We're going to have even better. We're going to have our drinks. So thank you for not just our co-investors and my investment partners and fund investors. And I hope this gives you more confidence, even our newest members of the companies of the cohort. You can continue to do very well by focusing on our thesis, doing good, right? But last but not least, all the mentors, not just investors, but several mentors are here: Christine, Barbara, and dozens who have worked with our companies in the last 5-6 months, out of a pool of hundreds, right? So thank you, and thanks all the fellows and interns, and you know who you are. and many other volunteers to, we really, without you, it's not possible to really build a village around each of these baby companies, and that they're going to grow up mighty and make the world a better place. Now enjoy your visit with our founders and our refreshment. Thank you for coming. Thank you. Yeah.